said. You believe, what spiritual thing do you think could be going on?
Honestly, and I would have just scoffed at myself years ago for saying this, but there's this resurgence of Christianity. I don't know if you thought this was where we were going with this talk, but there's been this huge...
Like, if they're the ones who are advocating for a Christian nationalist type of resurgence, and they're the ones who are effectively, in your own eyes, doing God's work, why is God punishing them? As you know, Jordan B. Peterson has been really sick. A lot of people have been asking for updates, so here's one. He's recovering slowly, day by day, but I won't lie, it's slow and it's scary. He won't be back for another few months at least, probably longer. We're not entirely sure what's going on, but it looks like possible severe CIRS and a lot of bad luck. Or, and this is an important or, we're getting spiritually attacked. Or both. Could be demons, could be mold. Either way, there are demonic forces at work here. To be perfectly honest, I think a lot of this is spiritual. My newborn, Audrey, almost died of a heart failure for no reason in June. Dad got sick and came to stay with us in July. They needed a hospital, and the same day, he went from the hospital by ambulance. My newborn turned blue again, at home for a different reason, not heart-related, and went to a different hospital by ambulance, within 3 hours of each other. It's been one thing after another, in an otherworldly type of way. In the meantime, we're going full force with Peterson Academy, and keeping this message across his brand alive while he recovers. Not letting demons get in the way of that. Prayers are very appreciated. Ephesians 6:12. What's Ephesians 6:12? Ephesians 6:12. Ephesians 6:12. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. There you have it, Ephesians 6:12. Now, obviously, I don't want anything bad to happen to her children. I hope they recover fully. That's obviously a tragedy no one should have to deal with, and horrifying. I don't think it has anything to do with demons, mostly because I don't believe in demons. I don't think they're real, and I think that is a bit of a weird thing to state when it comes to your father being very, very sick with a condition that apparently has a pretty clear explanation. Apparently it was mold. Black mold. I like black mold seems to be behind the scenes working against a number of transphobes right now. Black mold has been poisoning J.K. Rowling's mind, clearly making her more and more hatred and bigoted. And, you know, she wasn't a Holocaust denier a couple of years ago, so I don't know how far deep down the black mold / transphobic rabbit hole she went. But mold poisoning seems to be, I know correlation doesn't equal causation, but in both these cases, it seems to be something that is going on.
Hey guys. I have an update on my dad. I'm actually just going to read this. It's on my teleprompter because this is too hard to explain off the cuff, so I wrote it out. This summer has been exceedingly difficult. Dad was in an ICU suffering from pneumonia and sepsis after dealing with a host of neurological issues this summer that we believe stem from SIRS, which is chronic inflammatory response syndrome due to decades of mold exposure.
My first question is why decades of mold exposure? What are you doing? I gotta be clear here, okay? Jordan Peterson and his entire shtick, the basis, the centerpiece of what he advocates is to clean your motherfucking room. This is the clean your room guy. This is what he's been demanding of the men whom he says he is guiding towards having better, more prosperous lives, is clean your fucking room. And that man has been poisoned by years of exposure to black mold. There are solutions to this. You don't have to live in black mold. You can do things. You can clean your motherfucking room.
And brutal on top of everything else. But after almost a month in the ICU, he's been moved out to a less urgent floor. Praise God for that. We're still in the midst of this, but now we're seeing
The other thing that's really, really strange is saying that like they believe that there are demonic spiritual forces at work here. If the enemies of Jordan Peterson were capable of praying him into a state of whatever is going on now, believe me, there would be nonstop 24-hour seances going down, all right? None of this is real. There is no way that you can use some kind of divine power to curse or inflict spiritual warfare upon your enemies. There have been numerous double-blind studies and tests that show that effectively prayer does not result in more effective outcomes, as in if you are praying en masse, if there are large percentages of people praying for the same thing, it cannot necessarily result in a statistical demonstration that it'll make someone's health improve or disapprove. Again, these are things that can be measured, right? Like there are ways in which we can measure whether or not prayer can effectively help, and if we do have some kind of divine ability to improve or deprove, I guess, or to again, if this was if hexes or curses or demonic spirits or any of the above had the ability to take down political enemies, boy oh boy, like first off, I don't think there would be a left at all, because the people who are effectively 24/7 putting that shit out there, trying to rain hellfire upon their enemies, are the Christian right, and it has not worked, right? Like, I'm sure there have been full-blown prayer circles or demonic circles trying to destroy me in some way or another, and I have yet to be struck by lightning as I walk out of the house. Not to say that the day that it happens, part of me won't have confirmation bias and be like, God damn it, was that Jordan Peterson and his curse? But like, the same group of people who, by the way, we should also add, it's not healthy to only eat meat. Okay, I don't think that's the cause of this. I'm sure there are other factors, and I'm sure the black mold has a lot more to do with the neurological damage that he suffered and all that kind of stuff. But if we're just keeping it totally real here, like, just eating nothing but meat is not good for you. It's just not. It's why sailors eventually caught scurvy, and once they arrived, to another place, they would have to do things like make tea out of pine needles and things like that to try and get some vitamin C in their bodies to try and reduce the amount that they were suffering from the scurvy. Scurvy is, again, it's quantifiable. It's a thing that happens when your body has a complete lack of vitamins, vitamin C specifically. So eating nothing but meat is just, it's not a healthy way to live. And I know, like, the fucked up thing about Michaela Peterson is she pushes the all meat diet on everyone, including her followers, because it actually helped her. And I'm not here to dispute that, because again, a highly specific condition that someone might have where they are having trouble for a variety of reasons, that they've tried going to specialists, they've tried speaking to doctors, they've tried getting medical attention and help, and they can't find a solution. When you finally come across some change in your life that does make things better, like I know some people, it's like, it's not having milk anymore, and that is, to them, it's almost like it's a revolutionary thing. It's like, oh my God, I was trying everything. I was trying all these hardcore medications. I think she literally ate her own shit. She did that thing where you like try to put fecal matter back in your body or things like that. Like all this stuff, but nothing works. And then, surprise, surprise, a highly specific diet is what worked for you. I understand that for you, that could have been something where your body and the nutrition that you need to get, or how you process food and stuff like that, it helped. And so I'm not trying to discount that. But does that apply to the totality of humanity? No, that's the really fucked up thing. To then say like, well, this helped me. I want everyone to know the blessing that is only eating red meat and salt. That's it. And if everyone did that, we'd all be way healthier. And there is an overwhelming amount of data and science behind the fact that no, it is not healthier for you to eat nothing but red meat and salt. That in fact is going to be very unhealthy. It's going to be very, very high in calories, very high in sodium. It's just not a good way to live. For most people, like take Joe Rogan as an example, he tried it. He tried doing the carnivore diet, and he said he just couldn't stop shitting. He was going to shit himself to death, and it was not working well on the old pipes. And so, yeah, for some folk, it might help them, but for other people, like it unfortunately, it could have devastating effects. So I'm not saying, by the way, this is what caused it or exacerbated it, but I'm just saying it probably didn't help. Okay, it's not just that apple cider is supernatural and demonic. You could just have you could be a person who is allergic to apple cider, right? Like when Jordan Peterson goes on the Joe Rogan podcast and was like, oh, I didn't sleep for a month. And then Joe's like, wait, is that possible, bro? Can you? I didn't think that was medically possible. Oh yeah, bloody hell! The demons and the liquid cider and all. It's not. You're right, Joe Rogan. I hate to give you a point here, but yeah, you're right. The idea of simply not sleeping for a month as a result of having cider is ludicrous. And again, this speaks to the fact that these people, they're charlatans. They're snake oil salesmen. They're peddlers of unhealthy beliefs and nutrition. And honestly, it's not something that anyone should be taking seriously. If someone who has spent his entire career focused on a principle, a guiding principle, if you will, clean up your room, pick yourself up from your bootstraps, take control of your life. No one can fix it but you. You have to go do that. Again, easy self-help stuff that any single self-help course or guru will try to sell you on, but you've turned it into an entire life brand, but you then weave the weird spiritual kind of like Christianity into it and the hatred of women aspect and like, oh, mother and the dragons and all that other shit. But at its core, if that's your principle, is to clean up your room, and this motherfucker could not clean up shit. He has been now infected and has neurological disorders as a result of the black mold. This is the second time, by the way, that Jordan Peterson has been like severely incapacitated. The first time was because he was fucking addicted to benzos. The same man who would condemn people who were addicted to drugs, being like, oh, bloody hell, if you're on the streets and you're a user, you should quit. Stop using drugs. That's what you should do. Pick yourself up, all that kind of stuff. The guy was whacked out on fucking benzos. Well, he's saying all this kind of shit, literally telling other people they shouldn't be homeless, they shouldn't live on the street, they shouldn't use drugs, you should take control of your life. He's doing that while popping pills, and then all of a sudden being like, it's you who has to control what you're doing, sir. You need to make sure that you're taking care of her. And it's like, well, okay, and did he, after that, after he realized that he had a problem, did he take his own advice, do the difficult course, and get clean, which is very difficult, should be done under medical supervision? Absolutely. I'm not trying to discount or downplay how severe benzo addiction can be. People can die if not done properly. Or did he go to Russia and just get put in a medical coma until he could just bypass the whole thing, spend a couple months back at home where, you know, once again, Michaela was posting videos like, Dad's recovering really well. We're very happy for him, and we hope that he's going to be back. He comes back, writes a new book, and he's like, oh, I got 13 rules for life, and goes back to what? Making people's lives miserable. Vilifying trans people, attacking trans people, vilifying minorities, attacking minorities. Like, that's all these peddlers of hate do 24/7, while they're also not pushing this idea that if you only eat meat, you will somehow, I don't know, become more powerful and superhuman. Nonsense. Unscientific snake oil salesman with delusions of grandeur to the point of absurdity, where the man himself, the man got it in his head that there was a secret Chinese communist breeding program where dudes were having devices attached to their cocks to milk their sacred warrior semen or whatever the fuck, and that the communists were using that to breed Chinese super soldiers. And then he put that out there for his followers to all see and be like, oh, just another day in CCP hell. And then Michaela had to call him out and be like, Dad, what are you doing? But it was just cock milking fetish porn that he fell for, because the guy's not as intelligent as he seems. He's very, very learned in one hyper specific field. That's it. And knew a lot about that up until a point where they actually started teaching him about concepts of gender and stuff like that. And he's like, oh no, I refuse to learn. The same thing with Richard Dawkins. All these people you're seeing, like the war on science types who are basically now being like, it's unusual that I'm not able to talk about how it's totally appropriate for me to marry women half my age and for me to hit on every temp and intern I've ever had. Doesn't matter if they're 18 years old. That's completely scientifically accurate for me to do. By the way, I hate trans people now. And you're like, oh, cool. Lawrence Krauss, Richard Dawkins, all the Epstein flight enthusiasts. Oh, every one of you now is suddenly talking about how you hate trans people and how there's a war on science. That book, by the way, has a whole chapter by Jordan Peterson, which apparently is the best chapter in the book. I didn't know there was a chapter until I saw the Sean video on the whole thing, where there's like a play that gets done where they have characters called like Mr. Woke versus like Mrs. Rational. Just unscientific cringe of the highest order.
For 8 years to like mitigate these symptoms. And I got sick on the diet, and we figured out it was from mold exposure. So my dad and I have a lot of similar symptoms, and we figured out his kind of neurological symptoms, a lot of like pain and neuropathy.
I'm, by the way, not laughing at the suffering of one Jordan Peterson here, although, believe me, he would not return the favor. But that being said, it's at the absurdity of this entire family and what is going on here. This is a man who's been selling the principle of clean up your room to all his followers, and, you know, every single young male who's troubled in his life. It's like, well, what you got to do, buddy, is clean up your room. And again, in and of itself, not bad advice, but clearly not advice that he himself had followed. Because part of cleaning your room is to wash the motherfucking walls and make sure you don't have mold exposure going on 24/7. Because yes, that can lead to respiratory illnesses. Now, the fact that you've been trying to solve these problems with meat, I don't think is scientifically sound. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, so I can't really attest to this, but I assume, like, if someone is like, hey, by the way, I'm getting, deep, complicated CIRS respiratory symptoms, probably as a result of being exposed to mold, prolonged exposure to mold. This is causing this. Okay, well, I got the prescription for you. Have you tried tube steak? Yeah, because there you have it.
And a propensity towards anxiety, things like that, were potentially caused by mold exposure. And there's a host of blood work you can do. It's scientifically rigorous compared to dietary intervention. And over the last year, you know, he never did the SIRS treatment like I did because he was off busy changing the world. So around Christmas, he went back to my childhood house.
I also love how uncritical he is about any of this. Like, half the sentences that you've just been told are things that normal people would be like, well, my dear, I do have a few questions. I suppose the first would be, why prolonged exposure to mold for years? All of you are probably worth $1 billion. I believe you could probably afford to live in an environment where you weren't exposed to mold all the time. Following that, the meat. I don't believe eating red meat and only red meat is perhaps the cure for all disease. It might cure some ailments, maybe, but I'm not sure.
And after about 2 weeks, he wasn't able to walk. It kind of happened out of the blue. He was fine. He recorded a course for Peterson Academy, flew back to Toronto, and in 2 weeks, he couldn't walk. We flew him back to Arizona, where I've set up a house that has proper air filtration, and he kind of recovered and then went on tour. And then this summer, so this has been really, his severe health problems have really been going on since June. And he had a couple of mold exposures. And I know how that kind of sounds, but he stayed in this motel for a couple of days that was musty. He told me, and I was like, you should get out of there. He got really sick after that. And he kind of deteriorated throughout the summer. And we didn't really know what was going on because it was so severe. It was like a lot of neuropathic pain and it was mostly that. It was mostly pain and kind of slowness. And we brought him back to Arizona and tried to help him recover. And things just, I don't even know how to explain it, Pierce. This summer has been so bad. When I put out the video on YouTube describing how he was sick, I said that there was a spiritual element. I think at the bottom of this, there's this mold exposure problem, but we have been walloped multiple times throughout the summer with hospitalizations and these weird illnesses. And in September, he ended up getting pneumonia and then sepsis, and then ended up with something that's called critical illness polyneuropathy or myopathy, which can be a complication from pneumonia and sepsis. And it's just, we haven't been talking about it because we were hoping to see improvement faster. And every day has been just movie level awful. And so now I put out the video because we're starting to see improvements. Instead of his health going like this, which it has it's been 4 months, it's starting to go like this. So my family and I decided it was appropriate to put out a video, but we mostly just wanted to ask people for prayers because so this summer, if I can get into it a bit, I had a baby in May, and when she was 6 weeks old, she went into heart failure and turned blue in my bedroom. And so we brought her to the hospital and she was diagnosed with idiopathic pulmonary hypertension. They can't find anything wrong. She's fine now, which is a miracle, but she almost died. And this is my third kid. It's not like that's a normal thing to happen to kids. And then when my dad had to be hospitalized in August, he went to a hospital. I came back home after visiting him there. And that night, my baby was turned blue again for an unrelated issue. So I'd been to a hospital, and then I was heading to another hospital in an ambulance being like, what's going on? So I don't know. A lot of me thinks there's a huge spiritual element at play with Dennis Prager being paralyzed and then Charlie Kirk. So And I know that was a bit disjointed and everything. And I think mold is at the bottom of our like autoimmunity and psych issues that we've been dealing with for like, you know, my entire life. But I think there's a large spiritual element at play too.
Wow.
I think a lot of people have been feeling that, in the last number of months.
I mean, that's an extraordinary thing you've just said. When you believe, what spiritual thing do you think could be going on?
Honestly, and I would have just scoffed at myself years ago for saying this, but there's this resurgence of Christianity. I don't know if you thought this was where we were going with this talk, but there's been this huge resurgence of Christianity.
No, I did not.
America. And I think, and I believe that, you know, and so I think there's a demonic element at play that's hitting people, to be perfectly blunt. Now, I also think...
Okay. Jokes aside, silly aside, if we were to put on our demonic hats for a second here, and all of you wizards and witches, please, no cursing, all right? I didn't know or realize any of you had that kind of power, so just tone it the fuck down. I'm gonna have to start doing temporary bans or maybe suspensions if any of you start doing hexes. Okay, didn't know that was a power all of us had on the left, but apparently we do, and it's quite impressive. So the logic here, if I can follow it correctly, is that there is some kind of a demonic force that is apparently attacking specifically only rich right-wing pundits, and this demonic force or possession, whatever it is, specifically obviously attacked Dennis Prager. May have resulted in the death of Charlie Kirk, and also in addition to that now the severe symptoms that is inflicting Jordan Peterson because of the resurgence of Christianity. And these happen to be some figures who are, I guess, some of modern Christianity's strongest soldiers. But then my question to you would be, why would they be punished, especially by God or anyone? Like, if they're the ones who are advocating for a Christian nationalist type of resurgence, and they're the ones who are effectively, in your own eyes, doing God's work, why is God punishing them, right? Because I understand that the theory would be that it's demons, that demonic forces, possessions, witches, I'm not even sure, but they're the ones who are effectively using these countermeasures, these demonic spiritual possessions, to attack the other side. But then why would God allow that, right? Like, wouldn't God witness what is taking place in this entire battle and then just think upon itself? Is that the proper term here? Would you prefer if I used himself? But either way, why would God witness this all going down and being like, oh, damn, okay, well, I got some team sports going down here, and we obviously have all of these Antifa witches and wizards and all this kind of stuff, the demons, and they're conjuring hexes and spells and all this kind of stuff. And then we have, you know, the soldiers of Christ in the other camp who are advocating for a Christian nationalist kind of fascistic future, which is definitely what God would align, you know, itself with. And so I'm just going to sit back and watch this happen. But then ultimately does God have total control or semi-control? Can God decide to make Dennis Prager like fall downstairs and put some black mold into the walls of Jordan Peterson's home? Or does God kind of set a couple things in motion, and then those things can or cannot happen? Is there a balance of prayer to hex or demonic force? Like, how does that work? Like, if enough people pray for like Jordan Peterson, that'll cancel out the amount of spells that are being cast in his other direction? I mean, I'm sure all these questions will be answered or asked at least by Pierce, because it's a very serious show.
Mold is what's making us sick, but I don't know, something's going on in the world now, and I think a lot of people can feel it.
You genuinely think this is the work of the devil?
You know what? It's too coincidental to not be. You know, I think it was C.S. Lewis that talked about synchronicities, and that's how you can kind of identify God.
It's clear
like too many coincidences. But throughout my entire life, I have seen that. But this summer has been brutal. Like, what are the chances of my dad being hospitalized and then my newborn being hospitalized for turning blue? It's not like I just randomly brought her to the hospital within a 3-hour time period randomly. Like, it's been too much. So that's where I'm at now, which is why I went on YouTube and asked for prayers. It's that because there's been no like definitive diagnosis other than SIRS, which is a legitimate problem and disease, but dad is getting hit so hard. And then with everything that could go wrong has gone wrong, although things seem to be turning around now. But
and have you had, Michaela, have you had moments when you thought you might lose him?
Oh, in the last...
Sorry, did you just move from all of that to a legitimate, normal question that I guess a human would say to another human? So all of that just gets to be a matter of record now. Just go from, so you believe this is the work of the devil? I do. I think the evidence is pretty irrefutable. All right. When do you think you'll speak to your father again? Journalism.
month or two, yeah. It's been really...
Absolutely no idea. I would have contacted you before this.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you.
Would
We
you
kept it under wraps around. So now we can talk, but he's not...
hugely popular here. I'm incredibly
Well,
sorry to
thank
hear
you.
what's been going on with him, and I hope to speak with him before too long if he's strong enough to do that. And you know, our thoughts with you and all your family, Michaela.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
All right. There it
Today's
is.
show is brought to you by Oxford Natural, makers of the Optimum Day. And
Oh,
Optimum
damn, you
Night.
sell
All
pills? I didn't know that. Oh, damn. He's trying to get in on fucking Alex Jones's grift. Look at that.
natural supplements. Thousands of Brits and Americans are already taking them
Brits
with
and
incredible
Americans.
results.
Well, joy
Optimum
ho.
Day is designed to
Yeah,
boost
give
your
me some
energy
Peterson
and
then,
support
Mr.
weight loss
Piers Morgan.
throughout the day.
You are.
Optimum Night helps you relax and get deep, refreshing sleep. And don't just take
Nice.
their word for it. Here are just a few of their success stories. England football legend Michael
Whoa.
Owen lost 40 pounds.
Check this out. Before and after. Before and after. This is also convenient too because not smiling that much in this photo, but really smiling in this picture. In both cases, right? Not really giving a huge smile here, but really happy there. So it speaks for itself. Here, I'll give you a before. And now an after.
Clean up your room.
That was the pills that did it for me.
Robbie.
First off, thank you so much to our patrons for making this show possible. We could not fund it without you. And if you want to join, please check out patreon.com/theserfs to unlock bonus episodes, uncensored content, and all the good stuff. Thanks to Anna Loves Riley, Addercap, Bobby Lasers, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hegbard Salim, Multimondi, Omni, Political Papi, Preston Kroll, Quiet One 85, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demmel, Tigwick, and Words Greenwood.